Good morning. Well, it's afternoon now. I wanted to share some thoughts on awareness. So we spent the first week or so talking about the 7 habits, and then the first several weeks of the 66-day challenge talking about atomic habits. And we're running into some correlations between the two. Yesterday, I talked a bit about circle of concern versus your circle of influence, your sphere of influence, and how you respond in both of those areas. And over the past couple of weeks, I've realized a few things. Earlier this week, I take a shower, and then I get out of the shower, and part of my drying off process is to use a Q-tip to get inside my ear. And my wife had pulled a Q-tip out for me because she was getting one for something and already had it sitting on the counter waiting for me, which was very nice of her. And I picked it up and I used it, and I went on about my day. Well, what's interesting about that is that the Q-tip is my cue to actually take my vitamins that day, because I keep my vitamins next to the Q-tips in the medicine cabinet. And because I had the Q-tips sitting on the counter, I did not have the cue to take my vitamins. And midway through the day, the end of the day, whatever it was, I realized, oh man, I never took my vitamins. I looked in the medicine cabinet for some other reason. And that was really eye-opening to me, right? Like, so we've talked a lot about identifying the cues for your habits, and my cue for the habit is apparently opening up the medicine cabinet to get the Q-tip out. We got a new trash can recently, and the new trash can, the little steppy thing on it, actually works. The other one we've had for a couple of years doesn't. We always wanted it because it still had a locking mechanism on the top to keep the dogs out of it. And it has been several weeks that we've owned this, and most of my family has still not adapted to the fact that they can't just pick the trash can lid up anymore, because now it's flushed and there's no way to get it open without stepping on it. So they go to put trash in and they can't pick up on it. They reach for it first. And again, that's about frequency and being aware and looking at your surroundings and just having a method and a response to what happens to you in your everyday life and what it is that you do. We've talked about video games on your phones and social media apps, just in order to make sure that I was focused and dedicated to work when I was picking up my phone, because I'm using my phone a lot more for work than personal use these days. And I deleted all the games off my phone. What's interesting is, like, throughout my past several years, like every now and then I'd open up the phone at lunch break or whatever and go to the little game app and maybe play a round or two of whatever the game I was playing at the time, and it's not there anymore. And yet at lunch, when I sit down to eat my food and I pick my phone, I open up the I tap on the app that's now where the games used to be, and that's what opens up. And instead of wasting my time on that game app, I can find some time to be a little bit more productive. What's even crazier about that is, now that it's on the iPad or the old phone or whatever, like, I find myself playing it less, which is, again, awesome and more productive. It's being aware and noticing those cues. So as we were talking about being aware and proactive versus reactive, victim versus accountable lifestyles, we were looking at those two circles yesterday, and you've got the circle of concern. And a lot of times when we're living in the circle of concern, it's something, you assign ownership and blame to somebody else. My boss did, I have a boss who, my wife did, whatever. The words that you're using are often not you focused. They're about somebody else. The I have, if I had. They're about things that are, again, outside of your control. And as we look at those circles for the things that are inside of our control, we actually find ourselves usually talking about the I can be's and the I ams. And again, they're very you-centric. So working from the inside out. You're focusing on the things that you can control, the pieces of your life that you have those controls over. I can be better. I can be wiser. I can be more responsible. I can be habitual. Identity. We're looking at those identity pieces again. So again, this is where the atomic habits and the 7 habits start to correlate and go into each other. Coincidentally enough, I was on a call with other coaches this morning, and in that call with the other coaches, another coach had identified a place where she felt as if she went into judgment. And so we spent the whole call just talking about what happens when we go into judgment of others. And often, and my Facebook page today is more than evidence of that, right? Like often when we read something that seems outside of our control, we try so hard to grab that back. Like we quickly interrupt and interject our opinions, and we give our advice, and we don't come at a situation from curiosity. I tried a little experiment on my page today. If we're friends, you can go check it out. And, you know, it was just to see how much we were willing to just read what others had to say and be curious about their opinions and their thoughts and their mind. And if we could, you know, stay out of judgment while looking at that. And it wasn't really an experiment on my friends. I just wanted to give everybody the opportunity to have a civil discourse. And with that, again, just comes awareness, you know. And I don't know about you all, but like when that happens to me, and this is what, you know, we talked about with coaches together, when that happens to me and I find myself quickly jumping into judgment, or I disagree with something that's happening, and I feel my little advice monkey, you know, jumping up and ready to say, let me tell you how to do it, right? Like when those things happen to me in my life, often it's a reason for me to sit back in my chair or lean back on the wall. I've taught myself a physical cue of crossing my legs or putting my arms behind my back, just telling myself physically to slow down instead of racing into a situation or a conversation. So just, again, physical cues. I've taught myself to step back, move back. And some great questions that came up from my coach today on the call were, what does this reveal about you? What did this reveal about you? Like looking at a situation and a quick cause to judge. What did that reveal about you? What are you learning from that situation? And what did it reveal to you, right? So often when we're in a place where we want to rush to judgment, it'll tell the other person something about themselves. It'll tell you something about the other person, and it very clearly tells us something about ourselves. So I just encourage you to be aware of those things that are happening. Again, working from the inside out, as the 7 habits encourages, with be proactive. Focus on yourself first. When you're quick to rush to judgment, maybe it's something that we can be looking at ourselves to try and figure out why we are so quick to rush to judgment. What cues are happening in our lives that are creating habitual responses? And you know, I just thought that was really interesting today, and in many days, just how the book and how this habit group is so correlating with our lives in so many ways. I hope you're seeing a lot of things like this. If you are, feel free to ask, feel free to reach out to me, feel free to talk to me one-on-one. Happy to help answer questions, happy to bring those answers to the group. If you have that question, somebody else does too. That's always been a truth in life for me. If there's a large group of people sitting there and listening and talking to each other, it takes one brave soul to just reach out and ask that question out loud in order for everybody to gain. So thank you all very much. Hope you're having a great day. Talk soon.